exclusive look at Sons of the Forest hands-on. Unfortunately, I will not be playing this day one. I heard that it is on PC only.
Unlike some of its peers, The Forest, the survival horror game from Canadian-based studio Endnight Games, delivered on not just the popular gather and craft survival game format, but also added a surprisingly complex and equally bananas story featuring cannibals and mutants. With the immediate arrival of its long-awaited sequel, Sons of the Forest,
oh, that was a new scene. I was like, when the hell did that happen?
Of the original, but also to add some new and increasingly wild surprises. And based on the 5 hours that I've played so far, I'm not only excited about the sequel's potential, but also confident that Endnight could revolutionize the survival genre.
Okay. I like the sound of that.
The Forest begins with a simple premise. You've crash-landed on a mysterious peninsula and begin your quest to survive at all costs. There was also the optional objective of finding your kidnapped son, a task that would take you down a wild and disturbing narrative rabbit hole populated by flesh-hungry mutants. Sons of the Forest largely shares the same setup, substituting your son for a missing billionaire. It's a basic idea, but one that allows you to jump straight into the action, allowing players who have no intention of progressing the rescue mission to focus on building their very own lakeside resort with some friends right away. Just like its predecessor, you can play.
Whoa, yo, no, that looks crazy good.
Just like its predecessor, you can play, build,
look at the water.
Chaos with 7 of your friends in co-op, but you can still see everything Sons of the Forest has to offer in single player. The big difference this time, though, is that even when you play solo, you're not alone. Enter Calvin. At the very start of Sons of the Forest, you're introduced to Calvin, an elite soldier who not only survived the helicopter crash that stranded you on the island, but is also very much along for the survival ride as an AI companion. While Calvin has suffered some major head trauma that's left him unable to speak, his injuries have not, perhaps surprisingly, prevented him from being extremely helpful. In an apparent effort to
he just walks around helping you build.
Solo players, Calvin will follow you around and respond to commands issued via a bunch of handy quick select options on a notepad. He'll take orders to see out your less than desirable busy work, such as chopping down trees and gathering logs.
Wow. That actually would be really helpful.
During my hands-on, the value of having an AI companion was immensely noticeable. There was a huge benefit to sending Calvin off to find resources, while my co-op partner and I focused on designing our structure. I'd regularly turn around to find a fresh pile of logs for our display.
Wait. So you have him and you can play with niggas? Or is it only single player and co-op, meaning like with one other person? But if you have like all 7 people, then he's not going to be there. How does this work?
During my hands-on, the value of having an AI companion was immensely noticeable. There was a huge benefit to sending Calvin off to find resources, while my co-op partner and I focused on designing our structure. I'd regularly turn around to find a fresh pile of logs for our disposal, with Calvin already on his merry way to collect more. Not only will Calvin somewhat provide company for solo players, but he offers helpful, time-saving resources even when in a group, putting a significant dent in the busy work of a survival game. This
shit's gonna go by quick.
Sculpt a masterpiece or plow forward on the cannibal killing quest. Calvin has
Can
a mind
he
of
die?
his own, though. Well, at least to some degree. He sits down to rest when he gets tired and seeks water when he's thirsty. He'll also become upset if you treat him poorly, which makes him less productive and thus decreases the value as a companion.
Wow.
And if you decide you're not interested in having a worker bee along for the ride, you have the option to disable Calvin in the most realistic way possible. Shoot him in the head and you'll remove him from your session permanently. You're limited to 1 Calvin per multiplayer session, so the dream of a legion of Calvins can't be fulfilled. But the developers assured me that there are other companions you can find as you progress, each with their own unique AI. During my playtime, I caught a glimpse of Virginia, a mutant with 3 arms and 3 legs. She quickly scarpered once I approached her, and definitely had more of a skittish sensibility than Calvin. But the developers told me that she can eventually be recruited, and will become attached to you over time should you be kind to her. They compared her instincts to that of an elusive and independent cat, which stands in opposition to Calvin's lovable and obedient dog. The AI improvements aren't limited to just
They gave her the personality of a cat.
We came across several groups of enemies, ranging from a cluster of
cannibals. Oh my, yo, I do not fuck with that. I do not fuck with that cannibal. That nigga looks nasty.
Abilities. It felt like my enemies were thinking and making active decisions based on not only my actions, but also their situations and environment. Particularly in first-person horror games, enemies generally have 2 modes of behavior. patrol, and attack. But in Sons of the Forest, some foes would just be extremely wary and just interested in watching what I do, while others would charge in aggressively, only to back down when things didn't go their way. I saw enemies consoling their fallen friends, changing their clothes depending on the weather conditions, and even trying to destroy my newly erected home when my back was turned. It was clear to see that the enemy's brains were not only following coded rules, but also adapting their thoughts based on the external influences. The developers explained to me that certain enemies with leadership qualities can influence the decisions of others, and even promote their ranks such as religion, and that each individual has their own tastes, desires, and proclivities.
Oh my god. Coming out of the darkness like that.
From my small taste of Sons of the Forest, I didn't really get a sense of how deep this system is and how much it'll affect your experience. But the teasers I saw filled my mind with dozens of possibilities. I saw enemies adapting to changing their ecosystem and weather conditions, which now cycle through seasons that change as you progress. I even accidentally triggered a war after I stupidly opened the entrance to the game's complex underground cave network and released a faction of mutants into the domain of another tribe. My simple decision caused their living space to change and encouraging them to adjust their focus. And after that little taste of chaos, I can't wait to see how flexible this system can be. As you'd expect, the titular forest makes a return, and it looks better than ever. From the complex density of foliage, to the gorgeous rainfall and beautifully lit cave stalactites amongst the hanging corpses and mutant fetuses, the graphical power on show here rivals the majority of AAA releases. It was a joy to explore without even the slightest hint of repetition in its design. With a tease of bunkers, villages, and God knows what else in a world that's promised to be 4 times larger than the original, I can easily see myself getting lost and then sidetracked in the wilderness for hours on end. But at its core, Sons of the Forest is a survival game, and so when you're not exploring,
I saw a big ass spider web.
The construction tools have been significantly overhauled for the sequel. Gone are the floating blue ghost building blocks, replaced by user-friendly, realistic presentation of wilderness carpentry. Instructions are more literal, and actions are contextual. Instead of just loading resources into a ghost version of the final product, you're now free to, with magnetic and snapping assistance, manually place logs and sticks in the direction that you'd like, allowing for a complete customization of your structure instead of following a predetermined design. My partner, Calvin, and I immediately set to work on building a lakeside domicile of our own. And what began as a traditional design immediately blossomed when we realized the only limitation was our imagination. You're working on every placement by hand, and thus the structural points present not only a decision, but an opportunity for expression. I was informed that the option of the more traditional blueprint builds is still there for the purists, but I found the DIY construction far more appealing than the IKEA approach. Then, of course, there's the option.
Nah, these niggas snapped.
From the teasers in the trailers, this is implied to be bigger and perhaps even crazier than the original, and hopefully continues directly on from the Forest's cliffhanger. But amongst the time spent constructing and fighting off hordes of cannibals, I didn't really get a sense of how the story was going to go beyond the initial premise. It did feel very familiar to the story of the Forest though, which I guess makes sense in the term of dropping players right into the action. But I'd be lying if I said I didn't have concerns that it could potentially retread old ground. My hope is this simply serves as a jumping off point to go in some truly crazy directions, and it develops a narrative through line from the first game that still feels cohesive. But time will tell once I get my hands on the full game and manage to pull myself away from building a replica of the Ewok village and destroying the lives of the unsuspecting locals. Sons of the Forest appears to evolve and build on every aspect of its predecessor, with a focused goal of realism and developing a flexible ecosystem. And it feels like the building blocks are there to create something truly special. But its killer feature is the addition of impressively sophisticated and smarter AI enemies and companions that could not only provide a huge leap forward for the series, but the survival game genre as a whole.
Nah, they snapped. I'm not gonna lie.
If you like that video and want to find out more about Sons of the Forest, why not check out everything that we know so far? And for everything else Sons of the Forest, stick with IGN.
That nigga was not lying. They are for sure changing survival games, because what the fuck? You literally are building your own base. Like he said, you don't have to follow the blueprint. You can make your own shit. The way it like chops wood in different areas, like there's just mad different layers to not only the building, but I'm gonna assume that that's not as far as they went. They took it to the crafting, to the goddamn yeah, crafting of weapons and other stuff like that. But I don't even know. I don't even remember what the hell I was eating when I played the first game. Like there were like candy bars and shit, but I don't remember ever building a fire and like cooking nothing. So I'm assuming that you could though go hunting and cook stuff like that. Cause the nigga just bit off a fish's head. But this he said 4 times bigger, so this game is actually gonna be crazy. I for sure respect End Night Games. These niggas, unlike other game developers, are one of the few to really take their time with their video games, and it is appreciated. Other games that be putting out unfinished projects and all this other shit filled with glitches and all that other stuff, they're not like that. So if it's not ready, it's not ready. It's not coming to console yet. But yeah, I'm not gonna be playing this day one on PC because even though that nigga you can get allies, I think it would just be a lot better gaming experience wise, as well as content wise, to wait until it comes out on console so I can play it with the niggas. So y'all let me know what y'all thought of this hands-on preview. I think this is actually gonna be tough, man. This might be top 3 best survival games of all time. But if you enjoyed my reaction, feel free to leave a like, and I shall see you all in the next one.